Hey, what's up? And today I'm going to teach you how I tone my sports photography. These pictures are taken at NFL games, and that's because I photograph a lot of NFL. That's my primary sport I cover every year is football, primarily NFL. I probably do like 15 to 20 NFL games a season. Sometimes I do a little postseason. This year I think I might do some postseason. Depends on if your teams you cover go to the playoffs, and this year it's looking kind of good, so hopefully I get to cover some postseason games. But today I'm going to show you how I tone a daytime and a nighttime NFL photograph, and this is going to be in Adobe Lightroom. I use Adobe Lightroom for everything I do pretty much, and that's because I work in the world of photojournalism primarily, where we can't do a lot of pixel moving. You know, you can't remove things, you can't Photoshop out the background, you can't replace the sky with Luminar or something like that. So I pretty much live in Adobe Lightroom. These are all raw photographs. Most sports photographers shoot JPEG, but me, I shoot RAW, and that's just because my client kind of requires it this year, but in general, over the last several years, I just like it because I can build presets and do a lot of things to speed up my workflow, and you know, 10, 20 years down the road, I might want all that resolution and all that data, and I just can't bear to throw it away. So I do shoot RAW, and that's what I'm going to show you here today on how to do it. So without further ado, let's jump into the computer. So this photograph's a picture of Josh Allen. He's the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, and this is basically what I get when I come into Lightroom. I do have kind of a finished version here, and I'm really just hoping this shows up properly on your screen. I'm recording this through a Blackmagic device, and well, hopefully everything will go to plan. So first off, I'm going to crop my photograph. I use this French curve, but you can use the O key to switch between different crop overlays. I just like this one for whatever reason, and you can use Shift O to move that around, and that's Shift plus O, and that kind of helps me crop my photographs, you know, following that guide. I don't know why I like that guide so much, but I do. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my white point and my black point. So over here on the white and black area on the right, you can just grab these sliders and you can move them around. And of course we could look at our histogram up here in the top right. What I like to do is hold down the Option key, and when I hold down that Option key and hit that slider, it's only going to show me where the pixels are totally white. And so as you slide it right, you have more whites. You slide it left, you're going to get rid of the whites. So I'm going to just fast forward or just push it to the right a little bit, and I'm going to repeat that process with the blacks. Again, if I slide it to the right, this is all holding down Option. If I slide it to the left, I start to see where the pixels are totally black. Now I want a little bit of black in here. I don't want to have a super neutral, flat looking photograph because I want to have some of that contrast. Now the next step is going to be to pull down my highlights a little bit. Again, you can hold down Option and see that overlay to see where things are going. But for right now, I'm just going to go a little bit to the left. And my shadows, I'm just going to go a tiny bit to the left as well. This kind of sets my baseline. Now I'm looking up at this histogram in the top right, and I can start moving my exposure left or right. Now that we've set our white and black point, you're going to kind of see that more of the whole entire histogram is going to shift. So that's why I kind of like to set that white and black point first. Again, this is personal preference, but I kind of like to start there. Now you want to remember that your histogram is content specific. And what I mean by that is if you're shooting a team that has white jerseys, you want to see more of your data to the right. I don't know which way is right for you guys. This way. You want to see more of your histogram data to the right because you have brighter content in your photograph. And conversely, if you had a team wearing black jerseys, like say the Las Vegas Raiders, you want to have more of your histogram a little bit to the left. This isn't an absolute, but you know, darker things are going to be more on the left side. So having everything in the same spot on every photograph would actually be wrong. So now that I kind of have my histogram about where I think it, a little bit to the right, but still mostly in the middle, now I can start shifting some more sliders. I add a little bit of vibrance and saturation, maybe like 5 to 10, not much at all. Clarity, I used to always pull the clarity up, and I think most people do, but I've lately been pulling it down a few points actually, and I pull my texture and my dehaze up a little bit. Dehaze is kind of what it sounds like, but what I find a lot of times when we're working with these super telephoto lenses, you get a lot of atmosphere between you and the subject, and what it does is basically kind of sets your blacks a little bit more accurately. But again, these sliders only have to move a tiny bit, you know, just 5 to 10 points, maybe 15 at the most. So now I'm getting a pretty balanced photograph. For me, my white balance is correct. You would want to correct it if it wasn't, but this looks fairly good to me. Next, I'm going to go down to curves. I'm just going to go a little bit up on the highlights and a little bit down in the shadows. I use the line, but you can also use these sliders here. Again, everything's very subtle. I'm not doing a lot. You don't have to make these big movements to make the photograph look good. So now I'm looking at this, I'm saying, you know what? His jersey's still a little bit blown out. So I'm gonna pull this down just a little bit more on the exposure because I want the shadow side of him to go a little bit dark. This is a side light. You know, we don't want everything all lit up. We don't want everything to look flat. We want that contrast. A good way to check to where you are at is right underneath your delete key. They got that little slash key. I think it's the backslash. And you just hit that and it'll show you your before and after. It's a good way to compare where did I start and where am I at now. So this is looking pretty good. I'm actually gonna add a few points of warmth to it. So I'm just gonna go from 5300 Kelvin to 5500 Kelvin. The higher the number, the warmer your photograph's going to get. So I don't want to do much though. I think that's a little more accurate to that afternoon sunlight. In the HSL tab, I don't touch a lot of stuff here, but I might pull down these blues just a little bit, and I can do that by going to luminance and whoop, I can go to luminance and grab the blue and do that. But you got to be careful here that you're getting into the realm of a little bit unethical toning. You know, as we're photojournalists covering sports, we have to maintain ethics with our client. So for me, I can only do a little bit of this. I kind of use it as a more convenient way to dodge and burn or make a color more accurate. This next step is pretty important, and it is the sharpening panel. I think a lot of people probably overlook this step or they don't know much how the sharpening panel works. So we're going to talk about it really briefly, but sharpening is a big deal in Lightroom, and let's dive in. So the sharpening panel is about halfway down. And the most important thing you want to do with a sharpening panel is this masking slider. And what that does is tells you where the sharpening is applied. So again, we could slide this right and left and we probably see almost no difference at all. There's like no change, right? But if we hold down that option key and we slide that masking slider to the right, once again, we see that things turn black and white. And what's happening here is where we see white, that is where the sharpening is being applied. So if we slide it all the way left, well, the sharpening is being uniformly applied to everything in the photograph, which is not what we want. We want the sharpening to apply to him, most specifically where he's in focus or there's detail. This is, meaning that it's not applying to this open white area on the helmet. We don't need sharpening there. So we just slide it to the right, and now we have the sharpening only applying where the white is. Detail and amount and radius, these are going to be as needed. You're going to kind of slide these a little bit here and there. A good tip is to zoom all the way in, and then you can really see what you're doing. Again, holding down the option key gets you a little bit of a different look, and you can kind of see what's going on a little bit more. So I might take this amount a little bit to the right. Radius, I don't generally touch too much, but you can kind of check out that. And then the detail is another one you can just kind of hold down option. And again, this is to taste. Too much is a big problem, so do not go too hard. And again, here to show you this masking up close, as we slide to the right, we can see where this is applied. And that's pretty much it for a daytime photograph. That's about all I'm going to do. It might seem kind of simple, but in the world of photojournalism, there's only so much I can ethically do. My clients require me to maintain ethics. I can't add things. I can't take things away. I can't take out a stain on his jersey. That's stuff I can't do if I'm working for a news client. So that is about it. Now, I might do some dodging and burning at times. This photograph doesn't need it. So let's hop over to that night photograph, and I'm going to show you what I would do on that one. So once again, here we have a finished football photograph from the nighttime. I'm going to reset this so we can see where I started. So as we see, I'm obviously quite a ways back on this one. We're going to go in, hit the R key, use our crop tool. I want to crop for impact. That's a big thing you're going to hear. You want to get to what's important in a photograph while still keeping a relatively clean background. Another thing to note here is that you want to have your picture be straight. You want to have it level. So as we can see in the background here, this Tennessee is a little bit off kilter, and we can kind of see this yard line. Now note that the field is sloped, so it sometimes might be a little counterintuitive, but what I like to do is grab this little angle tool here in the crop thing, and I just drag it along a line that I know is quote unquote straight. Now I say quote unquote because in reality this is not level. This is a tilted field that they are playing on because it is pitched to let the water drain. But anyways, it's photographically straight. So I got my crop in there. Now with this one, my white balance is great. I work on my white balance a lot at night, but if it were wrong, you could do a few things to get it right. You could grab this dropper and try to grab something that you know is a neutral color, but I will warn you that a white jersey or a white area of something might not be as white as you think it is, meaning that a jersey often has pink or green in it. So if we go over here and click on this helmet, oh, it's green now. So you just want to be careful with what you're using to do that. I personally like to take a white balance card or an X-Rite color checker, and I will actually build a profile for venues that I shoot at. And you'll see me do that if you see me at an event, but that's a big thing I like to do. But I like to shoot just at least a picture of a chromatically neutral gray card, not just any gray card, not just an 18% gray card, has to be chromatically neutral, so you can then take a white balance reading off of that in Lightroom. So once we have our white balance right, as I said, this is kind of, where you come in to see what is right for you. We're gonna go, and once again, I'm gonna grab my blacks and I'm gonna just put in a little bit. I'm a little more scared of the shadows in these night photographs. I don't want as much of the blacks showing up on the night photographs because you're gonna have quite a bit of darkness in the frame because you got such like toppy light from the stadium lights, I find. As you can see over here in this area, this dark jersey, if I keep sliding these blacks to the left, I quickly lose a lot of detail. So you just don't want to go too far. Again, I'm just gonna look for a little bit less of it. And you might say, well, why does this look grainy? And that's because you're actually seeing the image noise in these little previews. The whites, I'm gonna be a little more aggressive with. I'm fine with a little bit more of a slider to the right on a night photograph. And again, it's because the light is different. It's just showing up differently. Highlights, I'm gonna go a lot less than normal, but I will pump the shadows just a little bit more in comparison to the highlights on these night photographs. Texture, clarity, dehaze, you're gonna need a little less of these because you're gonna get less atmosphere at night generally. I don't think this needs any of these. I might put a little texture. I might just play with the clarity slider, maybe just a few points of that. Dehaze, I don't think this really needs any. We might come back to that. Vibrance and saturation, I'm gonna add them again, but I'm generally gonna add a little bit less because you're gonna be able to pick up those color casts of these lights more so than you would if it was the sun and it's daylight and everything like that. Those are a bit more accurate and you're not gonna pick up these kind of hidden color tones as much when you slide that saturation slider. I'm gonna push my highlights on the curve side a bit more than normal. I'm trying to bring out the bright whites of those jerseys, and we can still look at this histogram in this top right. I barely have a tiny bit of both still because, again, the light's less dramatic. It's kind of filling everything. They've got 6-8 banks of lights all around them. And I'm actually not even gonna pull down my shadows because I got so much information in my shadows already. Going back to sharpening, we're gonna do what we said before. We're sliding it over, but we got a problem here. We're seeing a lot of noise, a lot of grain. And that's because I was shooting at ISO 5000. So I'm gonna go in here and do my noise reduction. So let's zoom in to an area of the photo that's pretty neutral, like this background. I'm looking at this whole area of just nothingness. And that's where I can really see what's happening with my noise reduction. Now you might say, great, go to 100, there's no more noise. But you are losing detail at that point, or you could be losing detail. And it's also a little unethical if you ask me. It's, you're nuking it out. Now, some people might be watching this and say, Brett, you're applying noise reduction. How is that any different than like photoing something out or cleaning something out when you're shooting JPEG? Well, JPEGs apply noise reduction in almost all cases. Some people might turn it off, but pretty much everyone's doing this. It's just a matter of whether you're doing it in the camera or doing it in the computer. So, you know, I don't have a problem with it. And again, as long as you don't go overboard. I generally find for night photographs with modern cameras, somewhere between like 15 and 25 is a pretty good balance of crushing the noise and, you know, keeping that information looking, you know, realistic. So we can turn this toggle on and off and kind of see the difference here. I know this might not be showing up in YouTube because of compression, but just kind of play with it and you will see what I mean, but definitely don't go too far. So now let's go back to a normal part of the photograph and work on our sharpening. So if we hit masking, we're gonna slide this to the right. And again, we only want that white where there's supposed to be contrast, where there's supposed to be detail. So I'm gonna slide it pretty far over in this case. We're over in the 60s this time. Last time we were in the 40s. And again, I'm gonna go in here and I can kind of slide my amount and detail and radius to where I find they best fit. Now, the more sharpening you put on a photograph, the more your noise is gonna come back. So you just wanna be careful with that. So this is now finished and we can actually compare it to what I did on the day of the game. And I think I did a better job this time. This is actually better, but I have more time. I'm not doing it on a deadline, trying to get it out really quick. Hey, so if you thought this was helpful, please leave a comment down below and share it with some of your friends. I hope you get something out of this, but that is basically my process. That is what I'm doing every time I'm at an NFL game, trying to file out photographs super quick. And you know, of course I do my captioning and all that stuff before this. This is just the toning step here, which is an important step, but you know, I almost say the captions are even more important than this, but anyways, please let me know what you think though. Give me a follow and subscribe, and if you aren't already, check me out over on Instagram. And I hope the audio is okay. I got this little R2-D2 clip from Rode over here, and I had this in my bag, and I've never used it really, and I've been using it the last couple videos because this new C70 doesn't have regular XLR, and Amazon lost my mini XLR order. So one of my errands I gotta do today is go get the adapters so I can go back to using my old microphones like I used on my C200 over here. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.